come in? For almost 10 years, vodka dominated my life, for God's sakes. Andrei Prozhorov's own tearaway drinking, gambling, carousing, fighting, rusting all, terrorizing the whole town, for God's sakes. Oh, another confession to make.
Let me guess. Taganrog wasn't terrorized.
How did you know? I was just a town drunk and utterly harmless. May I? Suddenly the evening has become a most special evening. At least for me. What a clever woman you are.
It's a help.
Oh. And now, a toast to your very special friend, Michael Astrov.
Very special.
A man with vision and close to saintliness and what?
Not always sober.
Oh, isn't that a wonderful combination? To Michael.
To Michael.
To Michael. And to your new forest. May it be a source of spiritual sustenance.
He does believe that.
And so does Sonia Serebrakova herself, who happily and elegantly here again tonight. You know, I hoped you might be.
Did you?
I have to get those chilblain cures from you, don't I?
And to Andrei Prozhorovich, who reminds me of Uncle Vanya in so many ways. Oh, and can I pay him an even greater compliment? Finally, to Giacomo Puccini.
May he rest in peace.
You are so damn stubborn. That's the Vanya in you. To the huge plantation at the bottom of your garden.
Oh, careful, careful.
Oh, sorry.
To the bankers with chillibrand, chilblain lanes and civil servants with chapped lips.
And to two most agreeable nights.
Ah, yes.
And when I think I could have been sitting in the shaggy bigs and brooding on a future that terrifies me.
Terrifies? What are you?
Frightens me then. It only frightens, that's all. We'll see. All is not lost. If I could just muster up a little bit of courage. I will stay another night. I will go to your opera. Now there is a brain.
Yes.
What do you say? Who's waiting for me at home? A doting housekeeper and a drunken yard man? They don't even know that I'm away. And one extra night and one damn the cost. What do you think?
Yes.
I've got to see that radiant Mimi that you keep drooling over, and I might even get a peek from the top of your head. No, sorry, the back of your head. Oh, and then maybe we will spot the Puccini pacing back and forth outside of the theater. So, an opera ticket that I cannot afford. Wonderful, wonderful. If that's not courageous enough for one night.
Yes.
And you won't see me at the end of the night. That's a special time for you and your musician friends to wind down. I know that. So I will go straight home. Here. Put your address on this piece of paper, and I will write, and I will tell you what brilliant you are.
Yes.
Oh, you're afraid that you're going to be responsible for me. Well, you're not. I promise. You think it's an idiotic notion. I should go home in the morning, that's what you think, isn't it? You're not very subtle, are you? Oh, of course you're right. The great brainwave seems silly already, I do. Of course I'm not staying back to the empty house and the dripping eaves and the rusting machines in the yard. Anyway, I suspect that the great Puccini isn't the next Bach and the child Mimi sounds like a precocious tart. And your conductor, a quack from Dusseldorf or Hamburg or wherever, quacks always seem to hide behind strict formality. And this is no help at all, really. I know that. But I have it under some sort of control and end up like my old yardman Peter, right?
Why don't you talk to your friend, Michael?
About what? About bees, damn trees, and making us all better people? All this? The disturbing here and now, today's grim ultimatum? Oh, that should be sufficient to absorb me to worry about. And of course, I am worried. Did I tell you that they have repossessed that rich farmland along the river? I bought that farm when I was 21, yes, with the money that I gathered from Weir and Cab, just gone. And they refused to give me a loan to fence the new forestry. And after they've done with the survey next week, will they even give me a roof over my head, for God's sake? Of course I'm worried. Stupidly, it's not next week that terrifies me. Oh, what frightens me. It's this endless tundra of loneliness and loneliness that's stretching out before me. Most of the time, I can summon enough courage to carry on about, but courage isn't sufficient anymore. If I am to carry on, I have to summon that cardinal virtue, fortitude, won't I? If I have to carry on, that enduring courage, fortitude will be required, won't it? Just one. One tiny little drink to conclude a very agreeable night. When your lieutenant colonel walked out on her, that's what your sister Masha required. Fortitude. Courage might have got her over her betrayal, but what she needed was fortitude to keep on living. And it must not have been available to her. Anyhow, to tomorrow night and to a great, great success.
Another little fable.
Sorry?
No, not a fable at all. I mean, a tiny fiction, a small untruth. Of course, I'm ashamed of all the untruths I told you last night, tonight. But I mean, you must agree that they're, most of them are trivial. But this little fiction about La Boheme, just a little bit bigger, and probably unpardonable. And you may feel that I have misled you shamelessly, and you may decide that you cannot forgive me, and if you do, I fully understand you. Although in self-defense, I must say that the La Boheme fiction was not premeditated, but it came to me in the spur of the moment, shortly after you began talking last night, over the table, over there. Yeah. And when you told me that the yolk of a lightly boiled pheasant's egg was good for chilblains, for some bizarre reason, it occurred to me at that very moment. Absurd, I know, absurd, but I suddenly thought if I said I was a violinist in the orchestra, that it would sound very grand, and I might impress you.
Ajay, are you telling me that if you...
I'm not in the orchestra.
Not in the orchestra?
We're in the street.
What is that?
That's where we play, outdoors.
Not in the opera house?
No, on the street.
Not in the Puccini?
On the street! No, you're right.
Oh my God, you were never in the Puccini?
No, never.
Never in the opera house?
Buskers!
Where were you tonight?
Central Station.
And last night?
National Gallery outside.
On the pavement?
Yes.
Who is we?
Ivan and myself.
Is he a fiddler too?
Ivan, no, he's a Balaluka player. But badly. But what would have been a bit cheeky for us to play outside of the opera house tomorrow night? Why not? I mean, nobody knows my association with La Boheme except you.
What association?
Oh. None. You're right.
So every detail you told me about the opera, one orchestra?
Little fiction.
Bloody life, and the flow of blood to your precious bottom and feet. No, that was really tough.
No, that's no fiction, that's true.
Why am I asking? Why am I asking? Why do I care? Why wait?
No, you have a right to be angry.
Angry? Why should I be angry? And that
What?
what you,
The suit?
that's what buskers wear?
No, well, I told myself privately that it was a classical touch. The down at the heels classical. I mean, you think it's not appropriate?
Yes, I know. I don't know, maybe. Why do I care? What that you should wear? Is there some kind of busker's uniform?
You think it's inappropriate?
Andre, honest to God, I don't know what to think anymore.
Ivan wears one too. Purple silk cummerbund. That was hasty. A bit different but keen. Yeah, he is slightly shabbier than mine, but then he has that splendid Uzbekistan physique, you know.
No, I don't.
Oh yes, good height, broad shoulders, straight back. He carries it magnificently. Ivan.
That makes me very happy.
Yes, he looks just splendid.
How long will you be there?
Another week and then home.
But we'll be back.
Yeah, we come every month.
In all your classical grandeur.
You're mocking me.
Or is this monthly visit just another little fiction? I don't know what to believe anymore. I really don't.
I'll tell you why I came to Moscow.
For all your experience, you're a damn bad liar.
Bobik is in jail there.
Oh, Andre, you forgot.
I was with him this morning. Yes, in jail. He's been there almost 2 years. Trumped up charge with some theft, with violence. Was set up by a friend who got off, of course. Anyhow, this busking business gives me a chance to visit him. Pays my train fare, digs here. And not a fable, Sonia, not a fable at all. No moral core at all, I'm afraid. Just a dismal fact.
Your son, Robin.
I always come out of that place feeling crushed. Although he's fortunate enough, he has a job in the prison hospital. He said to me today, joking of course, he said, "I'll be a doctor yet."
How often do you visit him?
As often as I can afford to bribe the man who issues the passes, once a month maybe. I sit with him for an hour. Not that we all have that much to talk about. Never asks about his mother, Natasha, my wife. Natasha, strange, isn't it?
Does she know he's in jail?
Oh, I hope she doesn't. Why lay that anxiety on her? He asked detail about the girls, his 2 aunts. He broke their hearts, he thinks, and he always asks about news about Sophie. She's in Uzbekistan, by the way, Sophie.
So you are in touch?
One short letter, Christmas time. I can't quite make out what she does. Something to do with horses. Breeds them, I imagine. Married, I hope, 9 children. Definitely.
Oh, I'm sorry, definitely.
Yeah, she said. Yeah, right. She asked. She takes after me. Effervescent. Mustn't she?
When does his father get out?
A year and a half. A lot of numb feet between now and then.
I'm sorry, I was flippant about your busking, and I think the down and out classical is a very wonderful idea. You should have a color one too.
What color?
Defiant scarlet.
No, not my color.
Well, make it your color then.
Very small, very small, very, very, very small. You have an early start.
So no la boheme for ice.
Bye, Mimi.
Bye, cranky conductor. Go home to Berlin.
Munich, actually.
But you made that up.
Yeah, well, better than Berlin, isn't it? Italian.
Oh, God. Big question, though. Is Puccini alive or dead?
Who cares?
By the way, that date, 1858, is it right?
Wild guess.
No, I thought so. Thank you very much for your good company.
For yours.
This is the end.
very end.
In fact, Sonia Alexandrova Sibriakova is beginning to feel a little bit woozy. So she must gather all her papers and tiptoe past the wagon and lay her head on her single-page pillow and dream of birch trees and dripping.
Tell me about Michael.
Well?
You're a very close friend. Tree man.
A man of vision and close to saintliness.
And not always sober, you told me.
What else? Late 50s, average height, quick blue eyes, occasionally very prickly, not the Uzbekistan physique, I'm afraid.
And your local doctor.
When he's not off on one of his schemes. He spends all of his time, he must have been overseeing the planting of tens of thousands of acres of trees all over the province. 3 times he has been to the Sakhalin island to look after the convict prisoners during a typhus epidemic. And he sets up apiaries in remote villages and teaches the peasants on how to manage them. He believes that if we all could just pay just a little attention to our environment, it would respond so warmly to that attention and would blossom into it. And in turn, it would become better and more generous people ourselves. He's so right. Just need a little attention is all. And he believes that in God and human predictability. He sometimes uses the word holy, and I think maybe he's a little holy man himself.
Is he married?
This river farm I told you about years ago with my calf money, I told you about it, didn't I?
Do you love him?
Oh, they only left me a few of these fields.
You're in love with him. Sonia,
For 23 years, desperately, without any hope at all. Ever since when I first met him, I was a young woman, and he had just qualified. His quick blue eyes bewitched me instantly and forever. He talks very rapidly. When he danced his exuberant hopes before me, all those outrageous ideas and extravagant plans and ideas that I'd never heard spoken before. My head just went giddy like this. He loved me too. I know he did. Maybe for a year. Until the great social issues gradually took over his life and he gave himself over to his public things. But he still comes to me occasionally when he remembers me. For some reason, usually when he's drunk. But when he does remember me, when he does come to see me and stands swaying before me and holding my face in his hands, not saying a word, just gazing at me with those quick blue eyes that are now touched with a little uncertainty. At times like that, I feel like I've never been apart, ever, and I feel, God forgive me, I feel that for that moment, I always feel holy too. Not much of a way to get through your life, is it?
That's my home address. And that's where I stay here in Moscow.
Thank you.
When will you be back?
God knows. When all this is finalized soon, I imagine.
Maybe in the next few weeks?
Probably.
Would you do something for me? Would you, I mean, when you know for sure, would you let me know?
Yes.
Just a note, that address. And I can come anytime that suits you. You don't usually have to book a pavement in advance. I'd like to meet you again.
I would like that too, very much.
Great. We'll have a grand dinner together, somewhere that we can't afford. Romanovs. I've never been to Romanovs. Have you?
Oh, have I ever been to Romanovs?
Settled.
Well, why not eat here? here. I suddenly got very fond of this place.
At the Viking Gorgon. Well, here then, here.
And we'll ask them to bring in vast supplies of fresh, round bread.
Careful. May I have your address?
Of course.
And if you prefer not to,
I'd love to get
Okay.
you. I really would.
Then indeed you will.
Sonia. You know my name.
Yeah, indeed I do.
There you are.
Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna have some more tea. Will you have some?
I really have to go to bed. I think I'm falling apart.
I'm sure. Well, yes, and in the meantime, I will write you.
Please do.
Good night. I'll write to you tomorrow, first thing.
I told you an untruth, Andre.
Oh, sit down.
No. I'm reading well, a little fiction, maybe a little fable, because maybe there is some moral instruction at the heart of it. I didn't tell you the complete truth about Elena, my stepmother.
The exquisite Elena, fair, elegant, charming
Yes.
Elena. Exactly the same age as yourself,
Yes.
and maybe a little heartless?
Did I say that? Anyhow, two men loved Elena very much. Poor Vanya, of course. Hopelessly for almost a year. He didn't die of love, but he really never recovered from her rejection. The other man was Michael. But she was so beautiful. He was too. They were such a beautiful couple.
They married?
Yes, they did.
They have a family.
No. Like him, she spends most of her time traveling. Paris, London, Rome, wherever there are shops. And he's immersed in his own private crusade, rescuing the damned world. And I suppose they meet up occasionally, all of which is no interest to you. And the reason I'm telling you this is that I won't meet you next month.
I don't understand.
And I'll ask you not to write me.
Why Sonia?
Because every so often he comes looking for me. And I never know when, but when he remembers me, I suppose.
When he's drunk, for God's sake.
That's true.
Oh, forgive me, Sonia.
No. You're right. But I love him. You see, and in his own way, I know that he loves me too. And now that his quick blue eyes have lost much of their assurance, he remembers me more often. And when he does, when he does come to me now, I believe I'm a little more valued to him. You see, and I believe that so we just stagger on within our environment of love of sorts, offering each other occasional and elusive sustenance. Not the most satisfactory way to get through life, is it? But it is a way, you know? And your Masha didn't think so. But I know it is. Yes, fortitude is required. And when I can summon up that necessary fortitude, as I will, practice that cardinal virtue, that my life will begin to cohere again, and I'll forever, occasionally, however elusive, and that endless tundra of aloneness and loneliness may still frighten me, but it'll have no terror